So moving ahead, we have yet another very, very amazing keynote session. Are we ready? Do we hear a better yes this time? Yes, see, we are getting there. We are getting there. I'm sure by evening we'll be shouting our lungs out, right? All right, so for the next session, I would like to invite Mr. Krishna, Chief Executive Officer of NuRe Bharat Network, on stage. So with a thunderous round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, may we invite Mr. Krishna on stage. Over to you.
Can you guys hear me? I can throw my voice without the microphone too, but I like to walk on the stage. I can't be restricted by a podium. It's just one of those DNA things that I grew up with. Such an insightful sessions. I attended at least Subhranshu Singh's and of course Mr. Bhargava's. There's a lot that we've talked about AI's impact in marketing, AI as a concept, and we dwelt quite a bit in terms of is it scary or is it controllable, or what's the role of human being when AI is going to take over? Those debates have been going on for quite some time. There are both human and non-human impacts of AI. For example, in one of the sessions that I attended about AI and the impact of AI in the world was about sustainability. Because the amount of compute power that AI is going to consume is going to release so much greenhouse gases that people are worried about sustainability. It's the AI's impact of sustainability. So there's a lot that's been talked about. I'd like to bring this more to a real life, how do we use data? I think in the panel session earlier in the day, data was the main actor. Everybody was trying to figure out how do we get data. Even Vivek talked about first party data. I'm gonna kind of take the next 10 minutes to give you a real life use case of how it's being used for all the things that we just talked about. But how do you deliver it? I think we all listen to AI being used in content, AI being used in creativity, AI being used for art. I'm going to use data and see how it can be delivered. How do you actually segregate large ecosystems of customers with psychographics or demographics, but how do you make sense out of this large ecosystem and target them for the things that they may actually be looking for at that moment in time? So we've all heard about target marketing, target at the right individual, right time. I think we finally have in our hands a technology, a tech stack, and I'll introduce our company in a few seconds. A tech stack that can be used to do this edge analytics, analytics at the edge, the closest to the consumer. Because right now everybody is talking about collecting large amounts of data, taking them inside a large, maybe a data center, trying to make sense out of it, put the AI tools on top of it, and come up with an answer. What we are trying to do is that we are trying to take the tech stack to the consumer, to the subscriber, to the person who actually needs to see that product, service, ad, content, whatever is being consumed. So why are we qualified to talk about this? I'm personally, I'm not qualified. I'm not a marketing professional, so bear with me. I'm a technocrat, so I can only talk about the use of technology for an application or for a use case. You guys are much better off in terms of absorbing that and using it in your fields. So 3i Infotech, which is the parent company of NuRe Bharat Network, and I'll come to NuRe Bharat Network in the second slide. We're all about cloud. We're all about digital. We're all about cognitive. We're all about edge. And these four concepts is what makes us a digital transformation orchestrator, a responsible digital transformation orchestrator, because one of the other topics of AI is, do you need to be a responsible AI or an unregulated AI, right? So responsible AI obviously makes sense. So we are a responsible digital transformation orchestrator. And edge is where we are getting all these concepts of tech stack distilled into the edge. Edge in terms of the location, edge in terms of the human being, edge in terms of an event, right? So that's 3i Infotech. You can obviously go back and look at us. We've been around for quite a few years, quite a few decades. But we are restructured and reborn about 2.5 years ago. This is a new 3i for some of you who may have heard the name. We were born out of the bank called ICICI Bank. No guesses for the name. 3 I's come from 3 I's or ICICI. But we've transformed ourselves. We've transformed ourselves to become cloud first, digital insight, cognitive ready, powered and edge ready. So how does it help us? We as a tech company looked at this and said, there is a advertising world, especially the world that takes the products and services to the prospects who actually can consume and pay for them. This whole world is going through a massive amount of transformation. I'm repeating myself when you say data is the central actor in that transformation. So how do we take that data and how do we analyze and understand the demographics of these consumers? And so that's what we're intending to do. And one of the first use cases of that we have in the market right now is NuRe Bharat Network. So what is NuRe Bharat Network? It's a private-public partnership with RailTel. RailTel is a telecom provider under the Ministry of Railways. There are 68,000 kilometers of rail tracks in the country, about 7,200 stations across those tracks. About 1,000 of those stations don't have buildings. It's like some village somewhere, some politician managed to make the train stop, and it stops every day after that. But there's no building called a station. But 6,100 of the 7,200 actually have stations, which means there's power and there's ability for technology stack to live there. So there are 23 million passengers today on those tracks, and RailTel has a right-of-way share of the tracks, and therefore they've laid fiber optic. They have the ability to radiate radio waves in these stations or anywhere they want to across the tracks. But right now, because of the existence of power and building, it's in the railway stations. So, what is the opportunity? Think about the. We are all quite familiar with internet and Wi-Fi and data and all that in the urban cities. But if you move away to tier 2, tier 3, which is the Bharat and not the India, so the Bharat still needs to be integrated. It's still underserved because we don't know much about them. We sometimes don't understand them living in cities. I know my children have grown up in cities here and abroad. They probably don't have a clue in terms of what the demography of this whole massive land of Bharat is. So how do we connect them to India? How do we connect them to India is the sole purpose of this. This is a social impact, if you may, from this venture that we try to create. There's a social impact in multiple dimensions. Social impact, there's of course accessibility impact. What we in urban communities are accessible because we can go to a Geo Mall or we can go to an Nexus Mall. In rural, you don't. So how do we get them the same access? You can do that digitally, right? So that's the whole point of giving them accessibility, inclusiveness, and social impact. Going back to, imagine a tier 2 city. I keep taking this example of Darbhanga Jilla. I don't know why that stuck with me. And you have a bunch of people who use trains every day, just for commute, just for work. And these are the people who come in cycles and rickshaws and autos to the station, get on the train, go somewhere, come back. Great audience, massive audience. Out of 23 million travelers, correct me if I'm wrong, Jyotish, about 60% of them are probably in that demography, or at least 40, if not 60. So a huge amount of population traveling, floating around, and congregating in this one little geography called railway station. Now, if I can take that audience, if we can take that audience and be able to access them based on their demography, their consumption habits, their language preferences, their lifestyle preferences, their emotional affinity, if we can get the demographic, the psychographics of this large audience, imagine the potential that is available to advertisers now to access this market. You're all marketers in this room. You can make this math very quickly. It multiplies itself to be massive, right? The platform of NuRe Bharat Network, the objective, the mission of NuRe Bharat Network is just to do that, is to connect on the commercialization level, connect the advertisers with the potential audience, which they probably have not been able to tap, except for the traditional methods of print media, hoarding, television. What is the fundamental gap in all these three mediums that I just said? a hoarding. You're riding, you're walking, you look down, you go past the hoarding. You're riding, you look down, see a text message, you've passed the hoarding. You take a print newspaper. I don't know how many people still read print newspapers by looking at the ads and actually reacting to it. Maybe there are, I don't, but maybe there are. If you look at TV, you can fast forward. So my point is, all the conventional mediums of advertising today don't guarantee you captive eyeballs. What you're all looking for, I believe in the panel discussion, there was a topic about the attention span coming down from the days of radio ads to today. They said something like 3 seconds is the attention span. The reason why the attention span is crashing is because of the amount of distractions, right? So how do you get a audience with less distractions and motivate them in some form of fashion to be captive for that limited period of time? In this case, I'm talking about 25 to 35 seconds. That's a lot of time. If you look at 3 seconds per unit of attention, you're looking at 11 units of that attention in just one little space called 35 seconds. If you look at the platform that we're offering, NBN offers, it's fundamentally relies on that single point of genius, that it's captive eyeballs. Why is it captive eyeballs? Railtel is able to provide Wi-Fi to every station. This Wi-Fi can be provided free. Lots of people in the world have tried to do this monetization of free Wi-Fi. We are not the first ones attempting it. And a lot of people have failed at it too. And the fundamental reason why is because they have not put the data angle around it. They have not put the analytics angle around it. They have not tried to machine-based understanding and analysis of this demography. So Shubhranshu talked about what human mind can do and what the machine can do. This is unbelievable. Same concept applies here too. We can, in seconds, in real time, analyze and assess what this person may need, right? So that information, that can be fed back to the advertisers, so you can now connect the whole ecosystem and make this a very intelligent advertising platform. Why is it captive? Because you need to wait to get access to free Wi-Fi. So we are using that as a motivating factor. Now you might say, who cares about free Wi-Fi these days? Postpaid, prepaid. But if you actually analyze and go back and survey the tier 2 or the Bharat demography, why Bharat demography? The other day, somebody landed up at my place. He was riding a Mercedes Benz. He lands up at my place. The first thing he says is, Sax, can I have your Wi-Fi password, please? Now, I'm pretty sure the guy with his background has got 300 GB or 500 GB of overlay data in his plan, but still it's not DNA, right? Anything that comes free, let's use that first. Translate that to tier 2, where they're all earning not that much. The per capita income is less, and they are depending on free Wi-Fi. There are real life stories of people passing UPSC exams, studying under the light in the internet, in the Wi-Fi of a station. There are real life stories. So there is a huge market which is motivated to wait for the 35 seconds, pushing away all the distractions that are being thrown at them like anybody else, and still waiting for that Wi-Fi. That 35 seconds, that captive eyeball is unique. No other conventional advertising platform provides that. Now you take the captive eyeball and present to them the information that they need. There's a colleague of mine here who coined this alphabetical order. It says A for astrology, B for Bollywood, C for cricket, D for devotion, E for education, F for food and fashion. You go on and on. You can dive content to them, each piece of content. And these are all real content that people consume, right? You wake up in the morning, you put astrology, because all of us don't know how the day unfolds in front of us. Many of us in this country and across the globe are addicted to predictions. You move on and you get devotion. You move on, you get Bollywood serials. You move on. So your whole day of the individual can be mapped with content, and each content comes with a potential monetizing opportunity. Right? So that's the kind of background behind this in terms of how we are using tech, edge analytics, to be able to provide a user base, a prospect base to advertisers in a way that they've probably not been offered before. So that's the uniqueness about this platform. So I mentioned this happens on a mobile phone screen format. So of course, today the penetration of smartphone is pretty high. Feature phones are still there, but penetration of smartphone is pretty high, and that's the market, that's the device or form factor we're using to be able to connecting, like I said, urban India with global advertisers or global brands. I've mentioned all this. These are the technical details. Obviously, you need to have some kind of an app. How do you capture the edge? How do you make edge analytics work? You need to have the ability to capture the attributes, the characteristics of the user, and obviously you need to have an app for that. There's a tech stack that's called Captive Portal. There's an app called PeopleNet. Any of you can go. Any of you next time when you go to the station, please download Railwire as the SSID, and you'll see our app working there in most of the stations. Which then can give you some idea in terms of how this works. But it captures all the data about the consumer. We talked about the first party data. This is first party data. So obviously, once this is just launched about a couple of months ago. Once we get a little bit more in time, we would have aggregated a whole lot of data, which can become even more interesting in terms of what we can do with that for the country. So. I'm not going to belabor too much around this, but I've got like 52 seconds left. So we provide end-to-end lead management solutions. Most of you in the CMO functions obviously have to commercialize, have to monetize, have to transactionalize all the strategies that you have around brand and reach and value proposition and differentiation. You need to distill that into a transaction called somebody willing to buy that product. And how does it happen? Obviously, a structured well-orchestrated lead management solution, all the way from content application to lead capture to the different stages before you close. Again, I talked about this, customer analytics, AI, big data, all provided by or leveraged by us to be able to create a platform that can be quite impactful and powerful for advertisers. So as I mentioned before, this is rich, right? Once you have this kind of rich user profile or data around the consumers, the possibilities and potentials are just unimaginable sometimes. Both in terms of making them sellers, there are lots of handicrafts or local crafts that don't see the light of the day in terms of being able to market across the country, forget the globe. This is a platform that can help them do that. So it works both ways. Advertisers reaching out to them, local, tier 2, artisans being able to sell their wares or sell their products to the rest of the country. So it's a great. So the message here is that we are disruptors. That's what we believe in. We believe in technologies that disrupt the way we were doing things before. And this is one example of that as to how we are using technology in your field, in the field of advertising, in the field of reaching prospects and consumers in the most effective way. Again, the whole proposition is all the way from brand building to lead generation to lead closure. There is no obviously caste creed, no dependence or tolerance to any product, any service, anything. The only thing that marketers or advertisers need to think about on this platform is what kind of service would they want to project to that type of audience. Like I said, Dalbanga, or I'll give another great example. There's an OTT channel. I mean, OTT, of course, content, entertainment, right? It always sells. There's an OTT channel called Udi Baba. It only operates around that West Bengal, 24 Pargana district, and that's their base, all the way up to Orissa maybe. The content that they produce is very, very regional. I encourage you to go and see just for understanding what kind of regional content is being generated. Right? Most of us in urban cities probably end up seeing Netflix and Disney Hotstar. This is a channel that serves content which is relatable to that audience. So how do they reach their audience then? Great, right? This becomes a platform for them to monetize, content monetization, OTT monetization, all that's possible from and every content monetization obviously gives you an opportunity to advertise and gives you an opportunity to monetize. So that's my pitch, exactly on 0.00. Thank you very much, and I didn't want to hold you back from your lunch, so I skipped a few slides. People look like they're hungry. I am for sure. But if there are any questions, I'm available for some more time, at least during lunch. Otherwise, my colleagues are here for the rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. May I request Mr. Mohit Gupta, Senior Director of Sales for Dun & Bradstreet India, to hand over the memento. Can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Krishna?